Hi guys, and thanks for tuning in. So if you watched the first video, we went over stomach and spleen meridian, the connection to the earth, and opening up that channel. If you didn't, it's okay, no worries. You can look for that video if you'd like. It's not a necessary prerequisite in order to do this video. So this video, we're going to focus a little bit more on breath work, our connection to the root chakra, and what all of that is and what it means. Okay, so if you've been experiencing low back pain, you get leg, hip, knee pain, you're having any sort of issues with what I would say is probably your sacral, probably your solar plexus, sacral, and root chakra. So let's say from here down, from about the rib cage or your mid chest down, okay? And, if you're trying to do some yoga and you get stuck in your twist, or you can't quite put your hands on the floor with the, like a forward bend or something along those lines, then this is the video for you, okay? We always want to have like a starting point, okay? Now, a lot of times people will see people like doing yoga or some of these acrobatic style, either martial arts or, yoga style practices, and they get intimidated by it. But we want to always build a foundation first. And this includes like being in your body. So a lot of times we're not actually in our bodies. We're like in our minds, or we're like in some sort of ethereal space. And I used to tell my students this all the time in class, that the beauty of our mind is that right now I could be in my mind, even though I'm here connecting with you. I could be on the beach, sipping a pina colada, looking at the beautiful crystal waters, and you know what I mean? Because our minds can take us anywhere at any time. Even when we're physically doing tasks, even when we're in the middle of things, sometimes we're like, oh my God, I forgot to walk my dog. Our brains are kind of all over the place. So one of the things that breath work, yoga, any sort of like mindful practice that people go into, and that could be anything. I think surfing is one of the most, playing music, I think is one of the most mindful practices that people can have. But anything that's going to help you be in your physical form and also help you to be present with this very moment, I think is something that will help you to get rooted, to get grounded, to get centered within yourself. Now, a lot of times we talk about grounding and like yoga and, things like that. And I encourage you to think about grounding as being something that is also including centering. We're coming into our center, we're grounding the energy, but we're also opening the energy above, okay? So we can ground, and that's wonderful. It depends on why you need that technique. But in this particular video, I'm going to show you guys how to really get into grounding, center yourself, and then open up this channel, okay? So if you're completely new to breath work, meditation, yoga, chakras, everything that I'm saying sounds like a foreign language to you, I'm going to break it down very simply in this video. Now, there'll be other videos, so you can always follow along with that. But you don't need to really understand the language and all of the concepts around this in order to reap the benefits, okay? So we are going to start out with, like, I'm sitting like this. I've been doing yoga for a long time, breath work, meditation. I have a lot of certifications in teaching this because I love it. It really kind of saved my life. I'm somebody that has a tendency to be kind of hyperactive and have a lot of nervous energy and have a lot of anxiety. I'm an overthinker, so I always have to be focused on things that I feel like are improving myself so that my overthinking doesn't take over and I start to downward spiral. So with that being said, if you cannot sit like this, then don't. Like anything that we're doing, the main goal is for you to be comfortable, for you to want to be in your body. Pain is one of the reasons why we don't want to be in our body, okay? When you take a pain reliever, you're not relieving your pain, you're blocking your pain. So this is also something that we do to kind of get out of the body. A lot of times people use medications to kind of disconnect the communication in their body. A lot of these practices are going to help integrate the communication systems within your body, okay? Now, when I talk about communication systems, we're talking about all of your systems, your mind, your body, your spirit. We're talking about your neurological system to your cardiovascular, your respiratory, all these different things. So if you can't sit like this, don't. You can sit kind of more wide-legged, like where one foot is way out. If you can sit, you can even sit a little bit more like this, however you are comfortable, okay? If you need to get like a pillow, I have a bunch of props here. So if you need to get a pillow and kind of elevate yourself so it takes some pressure off of your knees, then you can do that. The goal with yoga isn't to expand yourself and stretch yourself far beyond your reaches. The goal is to get into your body, to get into your breaths, to start to take control of who you are and the vehicle that we've been blessed to have, okay? So make yourself comfortable, whatever that looks like. I have blocks. So if you're at a studio or you have a block, you can use that. I love just having these nice, comfortable pillows. I'll get like a flimsy mat that's kind of cushiony. I'll roll that up. You can get a blanket. I like to do this. This is something, and I'll show you a technique with this later, probably in another video, because I'm just in a mood to make a bunch of videos. And you just kind of roll it up like that, so you have a firmness but a softness to it. And you can use that depending on your level of comfort. Now, once you kind of get your yoga props together, like what works for you, then you'll just have them laying around like I do. And see, so this creates a different type of positioning. See how with the pillow, my body was positioned very differently? Now this kind of forces my hips to open up more, my knees to kind of come down. But if you're somebody that's like, that hurts, you can use this and slide these pillows like that. Some of this is working with our mind and how we have the tendency to make things harder than it is. So sometimes we have an excuse not to do things, versus to make things as easy as possible. Like even if you're somebody who sits Indian style like this. I used to train capoeira and I would teach a lot of these guys, and this is how they'd sit Indian style because their hip flexors are so tight. So I just get some pillows. Do what you can do, okay? So we want to sit in a comfortable position. I'm going to move all this out of the way because I actually am very comfortable sitting like this. And I also want to show you, so I'm going to open up my legs for this one, and we're going to sit like this. And what I want you to do is really connect, and you can sit with your legs open like this too. It's not that comfortable for me, but I have to kind of show the illustration here. So here, you want your sits bones. So sometimes we got a bubble butt, we got to kind of pull the cheeks off to the side to really get those sits bones to root down. Now your sits bones are part of your pelvis, and they're that part of your pelvis that you see when you see the little skeleton, like the bottom of the heart shape, okay? So that's the part that we want to get rooted in. It's like if you had an outlet in your house, the little three-prong little outlet, we want to plug in there, okay? So what that would look like is the sits bones are going to be the 2-prong, and your coccyx bone is going to be that 3rd prong. Now, this is a real thing, right? So we plug into the earth. We're plugging ourselves in. We're getting nice and rooted. Now, I want you to visualize your pelvis like being a bowl. So your pelvis, like the bone structure itself, is kind of like this, right? Because we got our sacrum bones and all of that, right? So our pelvis is like a bowl, okay? Now, our spinal column is what we're focusing on here. Our spinal column comes up, and then we're going to be met with the cranium, right? So we have this skull, we have this cranium, there's a lot of fluid and stuff in here, okay? And then we call this our crown chakra, that is like this pillar that connects. So when we're doing this, I want you to visualize a pole that comes through the center, the top center part of your head, and it's going to go all the way down, and it's going to go through the center of the pelvis, okay? So your pelvis, like when you have a baby, for those of you that have had it, that dilation is other level. But so that's where the center is going to go all the way through. We're going through the center all the way and plugging in, okay? Now I want you to also visualize that same 3-prong that we're looking at is here. So our hands are plugging into the heavens, and our head is that 3rd prong of the outlet, of the plug-in. Now, why is this important? Because when in your outlets in your home, which run the energy, the 2-prong is our chargers, our maybe little fans and lamps and things like that. It's not high voltage, right? When we have a 3-prong whatever, whether it's our TV, our, I don't know what else, maybe our stoves, our microwaves, our refrigerators, they need extra grounding. And that extra grounding is going to create a higher voltage, okay? So that higher voltage that we're looking for is plugging the crown in and plugging the root chakra in, which physically would be the skull and physically would be the coccyx or the tailbone, okay? So that's why I kind of want to make that a center of importance, because our spinal column runs in congruence with our chakra system. Our chakra system, our spinal column, run in congruence with our endocrine system. So the central nervous system or spinal column controls our central and peripheral nervous system, which not just tells the body what to do, but it also picks up information from our environment telling the body how to respond, okay? Our endocrine system is what controls our hormones. So if we experience a threat, our central nervous system picks it up, it tells our endocrine system releases hormones that puts us in a fight or flight response, and then that controls our respiratory, that controls all of the other things, right? Our blood pressure, our cardiovascular, all the other things, right? So that's why when we're doing meditation, we're getting into this space, it's important that we connect with these systems and have an understanding that we're opening this channel. It's not just these ethereal, beautiful colored chakras. It is also our central nervous system. It is also our endocrine system. These systems control all other, our nervous system controls all other systems. It's like the black box of the plane. It also records everything that we've done in our bodies, okay? So with that being said, we're going to work the chakras. We're going to work all these things. How? By getting into the pelvis. So I want you to visualize the pelvis being a bowl. Go inside of yourself and think of it 3D. So right here I'm showing you kind of like, here's the pelvis, and this is like, a flat thing. I want you to really feel and get inside like you're sitting inside of a bowl, right? And so I'm going to cross my legs again because that's what's comfortable for me to get into that space. Now, what I want you to do is always start your meditations, your breath work by exhaling all of your air. You can kind of tell that I'm like, so when I tell you take a deep breath in, we go, but if I tell you to exhale, you're going to go, now watch. See how much different that inhalation is when we exhale first. So let go before you receive, okay? Don't try to receive when you're already full. Let go first and then receive. It works every single time. I always tell, because people say, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. If you've ever worked with children in the middle of a tantrum and you're like, take a deep breath, you're like, let it go. Tell them, let it go first. And then I always tell my daughter, smell the flowers. So let it go. And they'll smell the flowers. Now, what I want you to do, after you've had a couple of clearing breaths, is go into the pelvic floor. So you're connecting with that sits bones. Now, if you've ever done Kegel exercises or anything like that, you can kind of squeeze the pelvic floor. This is just kind of a squeezing, kind of like you would if you're peeing or you're going to the restroom. We have these mechanisms in our pelvic floor to squeeze. So if you're unfamiliar with this, maybe I'll do a video of it, but just think about when you have to pee really bad or when you're holding your pee. It's almost like, oh my God, I gotta pee, and you're holding it in. These are the muscles that we want to activate and work with because it brings our mind, our attention, and our focus to that pelvic floor, okay? So when we're breathing, I want you to inhale. Just relax into that inhalation. We're not really doing anything. And then when you exhale, I want you to squeeze, kind of pulling this up, okay? Inhale. Draw the energy, the chi in, exhale, and kind of squeeze in that exhalation. Now we're just squeezing at the bottom. Now I want you to bring awareness that when you're breathing in, you're like expanding this bowl as if you had a balloon inside of your pelvis. And when you breathe in, you're puffing up that balloon and you're expanding it. We're trying to create what's called a container of consciousness in the pelvis. This is just a mindful connection to the pelvis, a mindful connection to the pelvic floor, okay? So just practice that. We'll go through a few cycles of just breathing and expanding into the pelvic floor, okay? Breathing in, breathing that oxygen and chi all the way to the bottom, feeling that expansion. You can hold your breath for a minute and even kind of like pulse on that balloon. Like, and this is just, squeezing like as if you were trying to hold your pee in and then relaxing it. Squeezing as if you're trying to, stop that and then relax. And then exhale. Let it out. And you can do this for as many times as you need to. Just pause the video and practice working with that for a little bit, okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to do, in yoga, they call them the bandhas. And so what we can do with that, if you want to advance your practice, is you'll squeeze and you'll kind of bring that oxygen up, and then you'll squeeze into the next bandha, which is basically, for me, let's see. Yeah, it'll be here. So it's almost like a vacuum. Like if you've ever seen stomach vacuums, like they do this a lot in yoga. Let me see if I turn to the side here. And then when you exhale your air, kind of squeeze and lift up. That may be too advanced at this time. If it is, don't worry about it, okay? Just know that this is the starting point, and then you can advance that practice going into the other bandhas, okay? So just start off with that pelvic breathing, bringing an expansion and an awareness to that. Now I'm going to incorporate a little bit of Qigong, so you can kind of see what this ends up looking like if you wanted to use and incorporate your hands. In Qigong, it's the same thing. This is our yin and this is our yang. Imagine your hands are those jumper cables, right? They have an electric charge when we don't have it plugged into the heavens, because you could do this breath work as if you were in tree pose, and you're just holding your hands and you're connecting to the heavens. You can look up and kind of stretch your neck a little bit if you'd like to, breathing in. Breathing that oxygen and chi down into the pelvis, squeezing on that for just a brief moment and pausing, feeling all the chi go into the body. Exhale, letting it all go, right? You can also breathe it in here. Exhale and then push it down. Pushing that chi into the pelvic bowl. Now, one of the things I was drawn to do, and I like to do it with my legs spread open like this, is to go into breathing in, taking your hands into like a receiving position. We're breathing in, pushing the chi down into the pelvis, continuing to inhale, and then we're scooping out. Breathing in, scooping, now that just incorporates some different Qigong moves that you can add into feeling, connecting, and opening up to the pelvic floor. We're doing this to balance the root, to build a connection with the root. Now it's important, I would say, that you always do this while you're sitting down. We can do other techniques as we get more advanced, standing up. But the goal is to build that connection to the earth, build that connection to your root, and also build this overall connection throughout the system. I want you to just pay attention to like how you feel right now after doing just that exercise for a few moments. I personally feel very grounded. My breath, I feel more in control of my breath, and I have a light kind of airy feeling around my head. Now, if you don't feel those things, it's okay. You feel what you need to feel, or whatever you want to feel, or however your body feels, because you may be experiencing discomfort. Sometimes when we do particular modalities and techniques, we take a few steps back before we take those steps forward. So I want you to understand that there is a thing called catharsis, where we have like a painful experience as part of healing. Healing is not always Oh my God, I feel so much better. Sometimes it's like, holy crap, I went through a dark night of the soul. I'm on my floor crying for hours like a baby. Now, typically that's not what's going to happen in an exercise like this. But I always let people know that we want to release our expectations and just really connect with what the body is trying to tell us that we need, so that we're able to respond to our body's needs and our body's wants and give it just that. And that's why I think it's important before we start out to have these tools. Have straps, have blocks, have pillows, or even come up with your own little concoction, such as this thing, that is going to help you to be comfortable in your practice. And if you can spend even just 20 minutes a day with yourself, clearing your mind, connecting to your body, you're going to feel better. Even if you're just laying flat on the floor and you're just focusing on your breath, because you're giving yourself something that a lot of people aren't going to give you. And in fact, I think that you're not going to really get that from anywhere else. So I hope that you've enjoyed this practice. I'll probably tack on some advanced practices where we go all the way through the chakra system. Now, this is just building a container of consciousness in the pelvis. This is an important prerequisite for pretty much anything else we do, like traveling through the chakra system, working the legs by standing up and doing standing meditation. This is very good because it grounds you, it centers you. Even these particular Qigong techniques where we're going up, connecting to the heavens, even if we're just doing these cycles around, or, these sort of things, we're working the center channel of the body. And so we're moving Qi through the core, and that's what we want. That's what we want to get that energy circulating. So thank you so much for your time and your energy. I hope you enjoyed it. If you ever want to book a personal healing session or even something like this with me, just check out the description box below. Like, share to others that you think this may benefit, and subscribe. I love you guys. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next one.